Alrighty, and we're back with another episode of It's Basically Monday podcast. We got the usual crew here today. How's it going, everyone?
All right.
Shit. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty good
Yeah,
actually.
shit. All right, well, yeah, that's good. So I figured we would I don't know, just go over some like random shit that's been going on in the news that we haven't really talked about too much. But I guess I will start with the fact that uh everyone was like going nuts and like we were about to literally like put Trump in jail for having like classified documents in his house. And now have you guys heard that now Vice President Biden, not Vice President, the President Biden has classified documents in his house.
They,
And
yeah,
now
yeah,
the
okay, sorry.
former Vice President Mike Pence also has like okay, like I just don't understand how this is possible. Like this entire thing has been playing out for like months and months now, like with Trump, and then like it was probably like earlier in January that we heard Biden had documents, and now it's like the end of January, and now Pence has documents. Like at this point, I feel like it's just pretty clear that like all these people have documents, but like I'm just confused as to why they haven't gotten rid of them at this point. Like once they saw it happen to Trump, wouldn't you have gotten rid of the document? Like, you know what? Let me go through some of these boxes I brought home from the White House and just make sure there's no classified documents in there. Like considering it's like a federal crime.
Uh,
I don't
Like
think those high up like political people, I don't think they do that kind of grunt work. They're just
yeah,
like,
no.
nah, I'm not
that's
gonna look at that.
true.
I
So
also
like
think
maybe it's like some intern just bring it to their house with like the rest of their crap that was on their desk.
nah, I think like political people are very, very close to the like the actor embodiments that they basically are portrayed as, like in shows and shit. I think they just don't care. Like I honestly think having classified documents at your house is probably something that most of like people in high positions have probably done before. Like so I don't even think it's like super surprising that that happened. It's just like, oh, somebody got caught. But yeah, I think it's probably a more of a regular occurrence if I had to guess. Like I just thinking about how normal work spills over. Like I don't think just because you're high up in like it's government, I don't. I think there's like precautions and shit in place to make sure you don't. But if you're high up enough, I think you can just like completely skirt all type of responsibility normally.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently now, like, there's no way they're gonna send Trump to jail for these classified documents. If every single other president and vice president so far has classified documents at their
Yeah,
house. Like
yeah, for
that's
sure.
so like even though
I,
it's like illegal to do that, so they're literally committing a federal crime, like we're all just gonna have to pretend like it's not illegal and be like, yep, just kidding. We fucked up on that one. Like what is that? I don't
when
know.
was the last time a high profile government official went to prison for something they did while in office?
Like, I don't know. Like, hasn't like all of Trump's cabinet members, aren't they all in jail now? Like half of them at least?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure,
know,
yeah.
so that doesn't seem like high profile to me. I'm
Well,
saying
so high profile is what's high profile to you? Like, what's the minimum of high profile?
I would say someone that you voted for personally. So, like a national election, like those people are never going to go to prison, unfortunately, for anything that
Yeah,
they do.
so that's just like the president or vice president, right? Yeah,
Right.
they're never they're never going to prison,
Like if you go to Obama's
especially
house,
now.
you're gonna find like I swear, like I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
at
sure,
least like
of course.
folders and folders filled with classified documents
Absolutely. Yeah, I
and
completely
like
agree with that.
and I'm sure he's committed so many war crimes with those drones, so but he's not going to prison. So so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I feel like if I were Obama or Bush or any other president that's still alive, at this point, I would just probably just go through my house and just like, I don't know, hide the classified documents at the very least in a better spot. because like the FBI is coming at this point. Like it's their job. Like there's an entire department or agency that is supposed to like know where all classified documents are at all times, basically. And obviously, like throughout all this, we realize that they suck. Like that, they need whoever's behind that needs to be fired, and that whole thing needs to be redone because they're not keeping track of shit over there. But
I
yeah,
feel
like I
like
don't know.
those
Like I
people
feel like
have
I would just
career
get rid
risk.
of my documents at this point. Like it's been long enough. Like why? Even though you know you're not going to jail, like just just get rid of them. Just like put them at least under the bed or something. Anything like
I don't
I
even
don't know.
think that the documents that they find, I don't think they even know that they're classified. I think like it's some kind of
I do. I think they do.
really deep down like rule where it's like, oh, well, if the president like got this correspondence from another world leader, it's automatically classified. But they might not know that for sure. But yeah, I also do think that there are maybe a couple documents that they know are classified, but they just want to save them because I don't know, it was important to them.
When they showed Trump's, they I don't think they showed pictures of like Biden and the other documents, but they showed like a picture that like blurred out some of the words of the documents that Trump had. And those ones, like there were huge like labels that said top secret. Like you could not miss it. Like but like I don't know if all documents are labeled that way or if like how exactly that works, but
I think that the nature of most communications with the president just ends up top secret like immediately, even if it's like nothing that important.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard like this someone like the CIA director's like niece said Merry Christmas in an email, and that email has been labeled as top secret, which is just like it's so stupid, but like I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because there's I don't know what the law is specifically, but like everything that the president or vice president, like any all correspondence
Yeah.
that isn't immediately labeled like confidential, top secret, has to go into like the library, like the National Library or something like that. I don't know what it's
Yeah, the
called
National
exactly.
Archives. Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
ones who are fucking all this up, clearly. Like if it's their job to be like, "Hey, Mr. President, make sure you turn in all these classified
And
documents before
and
you
if the
leave."
president says
But they're
no,
not doing that.
what are they gonna do? I mean, like I feel
Well,
like I
then
don't know who
you send
appoints
the
those people.
FBI over there and then your house gets raided and
Yeah,
they take
but
the documents back forcefully.
yeah, but like Trump's a former president. I think there's a consort there probably is a pretty concerted effort to like to get Trump in some respect. I don't know many other. I mean, maybe Obama for certain people, but like I don't know many other presidents that have had the profile that he's had and like has still been so hated after they were gone, like out of the office too. So like I feel like that part of that it plays a role. And then the other thing I was gonna say is like I don't know who appoints the people who are in charge of that, like the documents that you were talking about, but I would have to assume that even if technically the division of power is that they should have the right and the authority to be like, no, Mr. President, you can't like just take documents. I'm sure those people have some level of career risk. It's the same way, like I think about it the way like Jerome Powell was when like Trump was president. He's supposed to be like they're appointed by the president, and like they're supposed to have the power to raise and lower interest rates like to control inflation. That's supposed to be their whole job. But like the moment he started to do that and Trump didn't like it because of how it was going to reflect on him as a president, he took him into a room and he came out and Jerome Powell was saying completely different shit. He was like, "Yeah, inflation is transitory. We're fine." like like so I just have to imagine that like some level of that is happening even in places where you would think it should never happen, like classified documents. Like I don't think it's as cut and dry as like we all understand that national security is like of the utmost importance. No, I think some people like get to just completely skirt the law and all the rules because of their position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
He,
that's definitely how it has been. Because I've never heard about like, I never can remember at least an instance on the news in my lifetime where like there was some sort of problems with someone taking home classified documents or anything. Like I've never even like I didn't even know that was necessarily illegal until like the whole Trump thing happened. But like now all of a sudden two presidents, no, three. I mean, if you count Vice Pence, like three president, vice president figures' homes have been essentially raided or searched by the FBI, which has never happened before in history. And like, I
Right.
think at this point, and it's funny how you said that. Like, they've got to be afraid for their jobs. Like, essentially, if you say something. Well, at this point, it seems like
or their lives.
they're going like full
Yeah.
steam ahead with like all right, if we completely turn Trump's life upside down looking for these documents, we can't just stop now. So like they had to literally do it to their own president because like Biden picked the head of the FBI and now the head of the FBI, his FBI is investigating his own boss for
Right.
federal crimes essentially.
Yeah, I'm
Like
sure. Yeah, I'm sure that'll lead to a conviction.
right, exactly. Like
Yeah.
this is yeah, okay. This is yeah. I don't know. This
Wait,
makes no sense.
so is the oldest former president alive right now Carter?
Is he
Is he still
alive?
alive? I might be making that up. I could have sworn Jimmy Carter was like barely hanging on.
It's Carter still alive. Oh, I came up right away. Holy shit. Yes, he is. He's 98.
Yeah, so like think about the way people or the way documents were handled and like recorded or like archived or whatever back then. There's no way he doesn't have at least one top
Oh my
secret
god.
document at his house. Are we
He's
gonna put
fucked.
him in jail? Of
He's
course not.
fucked. His house is getting raided. Like, it's gonna happen. But at this point, he can only hope that he'll be dead before he has to deal with any of this. Or hopefully he has someone he trusts like close enough who could just like go hide the documents for him before they come to his house. Because
But
I
that's
feel
a
like
crime.
yeah, that would be the person who hides those documents, right? I think that's technically yeah, a federal crime as well, like a separate one.
Yeah.
But right, as long as they never tell anyone and then he never tells anyone, he could get away from it. But yeah, at this point, like I don't know, like yeah, how like are the people just gonna like let this like like let this happen? Like I don't know. They didn't throw Hillary Clinton in jail for like those emails or whatever. Even though like that was Trump's entire campaign was like lock her up, lock her up. He never did it. So like maybe yeah, maybe
I'm
this is just
convinced
the point.
that all these things that like the different like opposing parties do, it's not really to like get them in legal trouble. It's just for like the court of public opinion, which is what really matters for them. Like they're trying to make sure that people vote their party members in, and the only way you can do that in America apparently is by slander and salacious like headlines.
I honestly
Oh,
don't think you can ever lock up a president. I think like as a government, you have like at least the U.S. government, you have to decide like if a person's is high up enough. I honestly believe that either they have to not be charged or they have to be killed. Like because then
Yep.
you just know too many things. Like you can't put Hillary like you're talking about Hillary Clinton. You can't put her in a federal prison. Like are you kidding? Like you just would have her in a box for what? She's just gonna start like like
she's
there's
gonna
no
turn.
yeah, there's no way. Like you can't do that. There's no way. The moment if she has to have contact with someone in order to like do normal prison shit, like having a bath, like or whatever, or, like getting that 1 hour out a day. Do you realize that in the 10 seconds they transfer her from one cell to another, she could have spilled half of the world's secrets?
Yep.
Like you can't do that. Like
She's already in prison. What's to stop her from doing so? Like, what
right.
are they gonna do? Put me in
Nothing.
prison? I'm
Exactly.
already in prison. It's like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
nuclear codes are one, two, three,
Yeah,
four.
yeah. Like there at a certain point I think you get high up enough where you are in sort of a prison. Like you're too high up to be destroyed, but also your life is also basically destroyed because you can't live it in any normal way ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's true. So like Yeah, so no matter basically based on that logic, Trump can't go to jail. He either has to die
Yeah.
or
Yes.
he's not going to
I
jail.
I
Those are the
think
only two
I would
options.
be much more surprised if he went to federal prison and was still alive 2 years later than if he and then if I would be more surprised if that happened than if on the news tomorrow I saw that he mysteriously died.
Actually, you're right. Same with me. I feel like him dying is way more likely than him going to prison for
Right.
anything he's
Yeah,
ever done.
Yeah.
exactly.
Definitely. Which is crazy because of how many people around him and who have supported him have been sent to prison based on his commands, which is just
I
like
I
hilarious.
think
But
that
like,
the
How
only
long how long ago did they go to prison? Do you know?
how long ago did they go to
Yeah,
prison?
the people who were around him. Like I'm just
They
curious.
are still getting like I'm pretty sure I just heard someone else got convicted and charged for the sentencing like earlier this month. Like
Right,
it's
wait, they got
still
convicted, so like they actually like
oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
person said they were guilty. Okay, and they're in prison now,
Well,
serving the sentence.
yes, he's had I would say almost 10 of his like inside circle
Hmm.
cabinet members, advisors,
Okay,
like the
so
people he has leading the country. At least 10 of those people
okay,
have become criminals now.
okay. I'm assuming that all happened within the last year. I think that if that
No,
all
that's actually some of them started getting charged before he was even like his own lawyer went to prison while he was president. He could have pardoned him and saved him, but he didn't do it. He just let him go to prison,
how
which
long
is
ago was that?
like holy shit.
Like two
That
years?
was like Trump's like maybe second or third year in office.
Yeah, so I think those people's days are numbered. I honestly do. I don't think I just have a really bad feeling. I hope I'm wrong. Like I have a really bad feeling though that they're not going to be alive in prison for a long time.
Well,
yeah,
actually,
I was
all of them, from what I've heard, I don't think anyone got a sentence longer than like maybe like 7 or 8 years or something like that. Most of them got like 2, 3, 4 year sentences for anything they've been doing. So like most of them are
Oh,
some like
okay.
his lawyer, he's already out
Okay.
of prison now.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's actually different. Then yeah, if they can see the light at the end of the tunnel, then they actually might not completely ruin the lives of the entire United States. Like I was thinking more like your crime, like you were saying, like some federal crimes. I was thinking your federal crime is so bad that like you won't get out of prison. Like then I don't think any person will go like any. I don't think any high-ranking official will ever be in a position where they go to prison for like the rest of their life, or even a large portion of it, and like actually survive the entire sentence.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly pretty reasonable.
yeah, I was just gonna say, going along with John's point, that the only people that get sent to prison are if you become an enemy to both parties. And those people in Trump's like cabinet that like went to prison, they're an enemy to both parties because Trump wasn't a traditional GOP Republican, and the Democrats hate everything that Trump has done. So, like those people, yeah, they're going straight to prison because Trump isn't gonna save your ass. He doesn't care. So, so yeah, like what's his name? Epstein, he became an enemy of the Republicans and the Democrats, and he went to jail, and then they killed his ass, just like John said.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That's definitely true. And even in history, like most of the time, like if you're if you used to be like the leader or like the head of your country or state, yeah, you have to die or like honestly, I feel like it was really amazing that Gorbachev or whatever. I just found out he died like super recently. Like he was the last like Soviet dictator, and you'd think like
The
they would
last
have
Mohican.
like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you'd think they would have for sure assassinated whoever was the last dictator. Otherwise, that's why they don't have a dictatorship anymore, or they do technically. But
He
like
didn't even get a cool theme song like the Mohicans.
Gorbachev,
Yeah.
dude, he might have a cool one in like Russia we just don't know about.
I doubt it. I think the only reason he stayed alive was because he knew the game and he went into exile willingly. He was like, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm not gonna do anything.
Yeah,
Just pretend like I wasn't even there.
I literally did not know he was still alive. Like when I heard he was dead, I was like, "What?" Like I had no idea he was still alive. So yeah, he played it right. Like He just disappeared. He became neutral to both parties. Yeah, you have to either become neutral, and that's how you can escape the the political life, or you'll go to jail if you become an enemy of both parties. Which honestly, like Trump is like right in the line. Like he could be the hero of Republicans right now, but that could easily flip to enemy. Like, so we'll see what ends up happening. Like, yeah,
I
if the
think the
Republican Party turns on him, then it's over.
I think the advantage that he has is that he's like used to that shit. Like in the business world, it's all like shitty, like backstabbing and avoiding the law and getting away with things that benefit you and destroy everyone else. So I think he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, he will be. I mean, he's already pretty old, like, and with as long as everything seems to take, he'll probably have a heart attack before any of it happens.
Nah, man, he's on that heart-saving drug.
I don't know if that's even enough for all of that, but we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Jimmy Carter's still alive at 98, so
Yeah, can you believe that?
yeah, that's he's definitely some sort of like CIA experiment or something.
Yeah. Um, yeah,
Oh
oh my
man.
God. Like doesn't Russia have like all of their dead dictators like in a huge like concrete slab in the middle of the capital?
Yeah, actually they do. Like I don't know about all of them, but like there's like a good chunk of them like in there. Yeah.
Man, that's how you know Gorbachev like knew some serious stuff. Like they didn't say a word. They probably didn't even like bury him.
Yeah, like what even happened? It was just like a super obscure article that just like popped up. It's like, hey, just so you know, Gorbachev is dead. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, what? Yeah, he did it right.
Yeah.
He definitely did it right. Well, that does not bring us to our next topic, but I'm gonna bring us there anyways. But I also wanted to talk about a little bit more about ChatGPT because we didn't get to touch on this last time. But like, so obviously everyone knows, or if you don't know at this point, ChatGPT is like this bot that's like really good at like writing things and like sounding just like a human when it writes stuff. So like I wanted to talk about what you guys thought about like the morality of I guess giving your customer or client work that was done by like an AI without them knowing. Like, is that fair? Like, if someone asks you to write an article about whatever, and then like you have Chat GPT do it, and then you give them the article, and there's like, wow, this is great. Here's $100 or however much it costs, like a writer to do something like that. Like, and if they obviously, I'm sure if they would have known, all you did is just type in Chat GPT, write me an article about this like they wouldn't be paying you $100. So like I guess my question is, yeah, is it ethical to do it? Like, do you think companies should be telling people when they're using AI or when they're like interacting with an AI? Or do you think if they don't know, then like good for the company. That means they're doing good work and like they deserve to be paid
Yeah,
the same.
I
I think it's in how you advertise it. Um, like, what kind of when we talked about Tesla, like I'm when if I get a car and it said they say that it can do X, Y, and Z and it can't, then I'm upset about it. Like if someone's at like the essay example you're asking about, like if someone says to me, I can write you an essay and it'll be great and like so then they've already included themselves in the writing process, like then I'm expecting them to write it. So even if the product is what I expected, the way you advertise it to me is not the way you completed it. Now, if you just said you can provide me with an article and it'd be amazing, and I paid for that, then it doesn't really, it shouldn't really matter to me how it came about because one, I didn't ask, and two, you didn't tell me how it was. You just told me that you could provide me with something. So yeah, I don't know that like a company necessarily has a moral obligation or an ethics obligation to provide that as long as they're not advertising the things that they're doing in a way that would suggest that like you're definitely going to be interacting with a person. Like I would assume that most people, considering like Google, for example, is a tech company, you might expect in some regard to be interacting with AI at some point, even if they don't explicitly tell you like, yeah, this is all of these like pre-populated like things that you might get. That's all AI. But like, yeah, if it's like a mon and pa shop and like they found a way to give GPT a voice that was like convincing, and I could just talk to that person the whole time, and they pretended that it was just like an employee at their store, yeah, that'd be a little disheartening.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I agree with John. Like in the capitalist free market, like there really is no such thing as morality. Either it's legal or it's not. And just like John said, as long as you don't tell like an outright lie and people buy it, then like you're cool. Just like
Yeah, that's
that
really
Theranos
yeah.
that Theranos girl, like the only reason she got in trouble was because she lied.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because like in any other case, people would just be like, "Well, you just were a crappy business person," and like usually that alone would usually like get you would eventually get you out of the market anyway. But like yeah, with
Mhm.
if ChatGPT can like do all this stuff, then it's just like yeah, it can start doing things for other people. But like again, as this
So why, as a company or a writer, why would you ever advertise that you would use it? You would just use clever wording that would basically
maybe.
mean technically you didn't. So you would always just say, "Oh, our team," or like our
Right.
company or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yep.
So like,
That
yeah,
already
like
happened.
Yeah, that all. Yeah, I was gonna say that already happened. So like, like it depends on what the thing is and how like how intent the customer is on getting it from an actual person. Like, if what I'm looking for is customer service and the AI can provide that, like if I just call the company with like certain questions about my account and they got an AI to do that for them, I don't really care that I didn't talk to a person. I care about the fact that I got an answer. But like, if the thing that
right.
you're going to the company for is personal enough for you, where like you really feel like you need to talk to a person, I would say maybe just don't do it over the phone in a way that you could be tricked. Like, like as a customer, I feel like
Yeah.
that's your responsibility.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Uh God, I had a thought and I just lost it. But yes, I agree with everything.
Well, I feel like with the customer service situation, right? I mean, the customer's just looking for an answer. I feel like who
Sure. Yeah.
cares whether it's a, but like when it's like you provide a product, like
Like what? Like the
you
essay
don't
thing, it
know,
doesn't. The essay thing, it doesn't really
like
matter to me. But like, is there another example you could give where like someone you think you would believe someone might be upset by the fact that the company didn't disclose that the product was produced by AI? Like, I can't. I'm having a hard time envisioning myself buying a product where I got it and was like upset that it wasn't a person.
well, like right now, like ChatGPT can only do like writing activities, and
Okay.
that's the only thing that's convincing enough where it's like, oh, this is a real person. I mean, there's also like we're getting closer to like there being like AI videos. I mean, those are getting pretty decent. So like I would say maybe like 5 more years that might be like pretty regular to see. But yeah,
Hmm.
like how about that? Like let's say you run a YouTube channel
Hmm.
and you want to hire this guy to make your logo. But meanwhile, all he did was just go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey,
Hmm.
generate me a logo," and that was free. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
I
that's already
mean,
been happening.
yeah, I was gonna say like again, for me,
So
if I was looking for a logo, I feel like the first thing I would do is try to figure out if I could make it first. So like if in my research I missed that, then that's on me. Like I wouldn't blame someone else for taking advantage of the fact that I wasn't like doing my due
Yep.
diligence. Like now again to the point like the morality point I think you're asking about, like would I say that's a morally correct decision? No, like I personally would never do that to someone else because I just that feels a little bit too close to like just straight out lying, and I wouldn't want to do that. But again, if we're talking about the like just the market in general and like business, no, I don't expect businesses to play along that line because it's not about morality in business like Guido was saying. It's an ethics question, and I don't really think it's an ethical issue.
Yeah, also, I feel like that's the reason why people with like jobs and skills that include them actually like showing up with their body like
Hmm.
in person. That's why they charge so much because like they
Yeah.
can't fake it. Like they
Right. Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
have to be exactly what they say they are. Like doctors, you can't really fake it.
Yeah.
You have to do that shit. So yeah, but all these other like companies and industries, I feel like that's why you have
Actually,
like
that's another good one.
trade secrets. Like that could be anything. But
Hmm.
like they can say like, "Oh,
For
well, we
sure.
can't tell you exactly how we produce this because it's a
Yeah.
trade secret." It could have been an AI like for the past 50 years and we wouldn't know.
Right. And I think too, like as it's more like of a known entity, like as people understand like what it is more, it'll become like I don't want to say like other programs because that's I don't know if that's a fair assessment of what it is, but like Excel, like I used to do data analysis like as a job, right? So like when people came to me for like presentations of like their numbers, I would use tools to create those things. Now like am I lying to them by saying I created it? Like no, because I had to like do something with it, right, to like make it that. But like I think everyone because everyone knows of things like Excel, people know of like data visualization tools that they exist. Like I don't think anyone expects me to be like handwriting code for those things. They just know that there's other tools that I'm using and they're valuing the fact that I have to use the tool in a specific way. Now, in your to your point, it's like, well, like you could just basically just type in a line of code. Like some people don't even know how to do that. Like so even at a certain level, that's going to become a task in itself and someone's going to be paid for it. So, like, if you're not a person who cares at all, especially if you're like older and you don't know anything about computers, like, I bet you those people would be willing to pay to have someone do something that seems super simple to us because
Yeah.
we just know technology in that way. Like, I know I could probably figure it out, even though I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I could probably figure it out. But like, if you're older, like, there's certain things, honestly, even at my age, I would much rather pay someone to do. Like I'm actually paying right now for a service that does exactly what I already know how to do and like I just don't have to manage it myself. I'm literally just paying cuz I'm lazy. So
Yep.
yeah, like I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to be a big problem like for people. They're just going to realize that like a gap needs to be filled. People are going to fill it with ChatGPT. They're going to become the middlemen that just type in what they need and they're going to sell it to people.
I should like take our money, take
Yeah,
it.
for real. I bet.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way. Like, I feel like if you yourself, yeah, if you didn't do the research and realize you can get the same thing for free, then like, and you're paying someone to do it, like, then that's just your fault. But like, yeah, I brought this up because there is a movement within the community basically saying that like it should be illegal to do such things basically like we're like and like another thing like
What?
when you mentioned like when you mentioned you have to show up and be a doctor so like just this week I apparently chat gpt passed the exam to become a doctor like a legal like physician in the United States so like so like and like nowadays they have like a lot of like teledoctors or like even
Mm,
more so like just like online like doctors where you can just like oh like text your doctor or like you can talk to doctors just like through texts or like through the app and like you think you're talking to a doctor but yeah would you yeah, how would you feel if the the doctor whatever your doctor's company used that says, yeah, you can talk to one of our doctors online. How would you feel if they were actually just using Chat GPT
I would actually
instead
much
of?
prefer that.
Yeah, honestly, they would respond immediately.
Yeah, yeah, and I also would be completely removed from its bias, from like normal people's bias. So yeah, I actually tell Danielle all the time if I'm ever convicted by of a crime, I would much rather have the jury be a computer because I don't want to try to convince stupid asses who have all types of weird biases that I'm innocent if I didn't do it.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
You
That's
should
funny.
honestly have Chat GPT lawyer too. Like
Yeah,
just
man, that
like
would be
have two
great.
computers going at it.
Do you know how much that would save people like from the not tyranny, that's an unfair word, but like the unpreparedness of public defenders because of their caseloads? Like there's some really actually good implications for that. Like imagine if you had ChatGPT who knew all of the legal angles and it was like almost free. You just needed someone to be that proxy person to like type in commands so that we can get the answers we need.
Yeah.
But how would you feel if you were the guy that got convicted by with an AI lawyer, and you're like, what the fuck? Like this thing didn't even work. Like it didn't even like I'm innocent, but like now I got convicted because this thing was like robot as fuck. So the jury was like, okay, like
Well,
no, like
in a system where a robot would be a juror, I don't think you'd ever need people lawyers either. Like it would just be all be one system, and you could bury. It would be like mega quick. Like I think most of the a lot of convictions
oh,
that
I
we
didn't
get,
know we were talking about robot jurors. I was just
yeah,
thinking
yeah, yeah.
robot lawyers.
Oh
Yeah,
well, like
robot jurors too. Jesus
I wouldn't
Christ.
want,
No,
yeah,
I don't want that.
I wouldn't want lawyers if they're if the I wouldn't want AI. I would not want AI lawyers if the jurors were real people. That's actually a worse decision than just having a public defender. I think the jurors would tear you apart if you had an AI lawyer.
Well, like sometimes like with criminal cases, you can choose to like go to trial like with a jury, or you can just
Mhm.
choose to like have the judge choose. So like yeah, what if the judge was just an AI? Like the judge isn't
That would be
supposed to be
great.
involved with anything anyways. So like
Yeah.
and sometimes like they do get involved, which is kind of ridiculous.
If
But
that
sometimes it's needed,
if
but
that whole system was AI, I feel like you'd have a lot less like extremely heinous crime conviction, which I think would probably be a good thing, honestly. Because a lot of times when I hear like the if it's the prosecution's job to like prove without a shadow, like not like within reasonable doubt that like this person committed a crime, and sometimes I hear the evidence and I just think to myself, how are people not doubting this? Like I think to myself, oh, there's so many convictions that I've seen just on TV rando shows, right? Of like people they're explaining what happened as this person got convicted like 10 years ago or something, and like they found out later, like, oh yeah, there was really no good evidence. Like I hear so many stories like that. Like I would much rather an AI make that decision because the moment you have the term reasonable doubt and you can like quantify if you can quantify that in a well-meaning way through AI, dude, I feel like it would be super hard to get people convicted if you didn't have really, really solid evidence. I think that would make everyone step their fucking game up. Like, you would not just knock on people's doors if you didn't know that there was some shit going on.
that's funny. That's interesting. So I mean like in a way that does sound like it could be better because it would be so impartial. So then I
Yeah,
started
yeah,
thinking like, well then what if you have like AI guards and like an AI prison system so they can't be like racist or like
yeah, man.
be like
Do it
treat you
all.
like scum. Like they're just treat everyone the same. But then like I just can't help but to think of how like dystopian that would feel. Like you're in a prison system run completely by robots. Like I would just imagine someone would be like pleading for their life, like please someone help me, and the robot would be like just another prisoner
How,
trying to make a scene, and like it just can't like tell or feel that the person actually needed help, and then they'll just die.
how is
Like
that? I just don't understand how that's any different from like now. Like the only
Yeah,
difference is
yeah,
that there's a human middle person. Like when
yeah.
you said that, like how would you feel if your AI lawyer like failed you? Like it's the basically most public defenders, and I'm sorry to say this if you like you're actually trying, but I kind of doubt it. But like most public defenders are essentially just AIs,
NPCs.
and
They're closer to
yeah,
NPCs. Yeah.
they just show up in their meat suit,
But
and
it's
it's
not their
like
fault. Like they kind of have to be.
exactly, yeah. I mean,
I
yeah,
mean
like
like
an AI judge, how much do you think a real judge knows right now? Do you think they like if someone comes to them with a case where, I don't know, my wife stole my boat and then crashed into a public nonprofit and that nonprofit so and so, like something super complicated. Like I doubt the judge actually knows everything. They just expect for the lawyers to distill it
yeah.
down to an argument that they can just say yes or no to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
also
that's
that's
exactly
another good
true.
point that the crashing into nonprofit example made me think of. Calculating damages would be way easier because it would just be a very, very simple formula. It would not be you would not all get all this bullshit about pain and suffering and have all these crazy frivolous lawsuits because people would just realize they would never be able to win them. Like it would actually relieve the system so much if the people just like that were running it just went and focused on people, like just preventing crime, like having helping people with resources, and like when people just fuck up and just create like go against that system, have AI just take over to make very quick decisions about like, all right, they committed the crime. Yeah, there's evidence. If there's a videotape, we really don't need to see much more. Like, if there's facial recognition. We know it's you. I don't really care what you have to say about it. We know it's you. Now, do you have a reason for why you did it? We'll hear that. We'll take that into consideration. Like it would a normal case like a murder that would like be a murder trial that would take like 2 weeks. Like just most murder trials take like several months if not years. And like this would be like what? It would take the AI just time to gather all the information. That would be like what? 7, 8 hours. You could
That's
commit
Yeah.
the
pretty
crime and know by the next day whether you're going to prison.
You know while you're committing a crime, it's
Yeah,
like, damn,
yeah,
I'm going to prison tomorrow.
yeah, yeah. The AI squad car just is like, we witnessed the whole thing. The judgment has been rendered. You're going to prison. Like it would just take you to prison immediately. There would be no trial.
Oh, dude, there was a very popular anime based on this premise. It was called Psychopaths, where like in that time in that like world that they had, the police were able to like know what crimes were gonna be committed like well ahead of time, and they like come in and like arrest you for
Oh,
it.
like the
Wow.
Minority Report?
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Interesting.
yeah.
That's
So
like
yeah, it
so.
seems like. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it kind of had me thinking. So like everything gets hacked nowadays. What if someone just like hacks like what if a murderer is just like a good hacker and it's like I will be your judge and I have declared that you are free. Like
I think
the
you see
whole
an
thing's
immediate
AI all the way through, so
I think
like
you'd
no one would be
immediately see
judging
an
it.
uptick in crime. Like it would be so apparent right away. And then that's the other thing. Like in this system, just to make sure that the AI isn't like completely fucking itself, like surely there has to be one guy, like in the cases where they make quick judgments that just says, all right, like clearly, like there has to be some type of like,
But then you have a human judge again. What if he's just like, hold on, this
no, no,
fellow
no, no,
white
no,
male is not guilty of
no,
these
no, no.
things
So
that
I
the
mean,
AI said he is.
yeah, so I mean like someone who would write who would be able to like monitor the code, like to make sure nothing crazy was happening with like what you were saying, like just being hacked. But like, yeah,
But I mean, how would it know?
how would the
Like, how would
person know?
anyone know to check the code to begin with?
I'm saying that would have to would have to do that. There would have to be someone involved. Yeah, they can't wouldn't it can't completely be removed from people, but like their only job would be the code.
I
I
mean,
think
there's
that
people who have that job now and they fail and still get hacked. And there's like
yeah.
we never saw like literally like like the best like companies even still get hacked and even top government agencies.
Right, but I would rather have that version of the world of like, okay, we might have like a 96% like win rate and like it's good that percentage of the time, and then like the 2% of the 3% of the time we get hacked, like it's pandemonium, but then we fix it. Like I'd rather have that than like be batting like when you're batting 25% or 50%, whatever the actual justice system like actually does. I'd rather have that than like the maybe you win, maybe you lose. Like I don't like that version. So I would welcome the idea that like the only possible way I'm getting fucked is if someone hacked the system.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd
it would
have to be
take it would
like
take a
someone
while.
special or something.
Yeah. And in that case, what do you need to hack the system for anyway? Like you can probably do anything you want if you can bypass the artificial intelligence that decides who goes to prison. You could you could hack so many more things that would make your life easier.
You're like,
Yeah,
I'm not a criminal anymore. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you could just use it for yourself. That's it.
yeah. I think that yeah, the dangerous part of it is that like people that do want to murder, they'd be like so good at it, like almost unstoppable. Because
Yeah,
if
if
you
you
could,
could learn that,
Sure,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah. But I mean that happens now. Like there
Yeah,
are people that still
yeah, I
get
was gonna
away with
say.
it,
Yeah.
but yeah, now
Yeah.
those people will start getting caught. And then the people
Yeah.
who figure out how to get away from that, like holy shit.
Yeah, but then there'd still be a
Okay.
net loss in murderers, though.
Yeah,
W-
yeah,
What
true.
do you
Well,
think about AI
yeah.
police then?
Yeah, I could make. I mean, that is a little harder, only because like even a person and even an AI, I think, like if you're coming into a situation like without all the information, it's gonna be hard to disseminate like what's going on and make quick decisions. So like, I don't know how much better an AI would be. I mean, I think it would be better in some cases, but like with quick on the fly decisions to be able to I don't know how much it would be able to discern. It would have to be like super dependent on like the technology involved in like a like a AI robot police person. Like it would have to have all the cameras, be able to see everything. Like it would have to like be able to tap fucking see like what's the like traffic cams and shit. Like it would have to be able to tap all of that super fast. But like yeah, it would have to be so like to your point dystopian that it would have almost no chance of failing, or at the very least, it would be very easy to tell that it's better than a person.
That'd be funny. I just imagine if that's happening, like, and like, like if George Floyd or whatever was happening during like the robot like police period, like they would just be like restraining him and then like kill him because they can't even tell like how much pressure they're using, and then at the end they would just like start like doing Fortnite dances and start like dabbing and stuff, like they do
Wow.
in the videos now. Like that's what I imagine for some reason. It's like this can't be any better.
So you just imagine that AI like police are just stronger than humans, and that's the only benefit. Like they can't make any better judgment calls because they can't even tell how much pressure they're putting on. So they just act like they just act like they just fuck people up and then act like humans afterwards because they don't know what else to do.
I feel like if the yeah, I feel like if the American government had their say on how the robots acted, yeah, I think that actually is probably what would happen.
And that's yeah,
Especially
yeah,
the
yeah,
Republicans.
sure.
They'd be like, nah, they're criminals. You need to be hard on them. They shouldn't be breaking the law to begin with.
Yeah, Law and Order.
Yeah, that's another good thing, like, or not good thing, but like, I'm sure this entire thing is going to be politicized and it's going to be used to oppress like some sort of minority group or maybe even like majority group, honestly, but it's going to be used in not good ways as well, like, which is just annoying and scary to think about. Like, yeah, that's our
You
future.
you went you saw Chat GPT and you went straight you went straight from like it's super powerful to someone's gonna be oppressed.
I
Yeah,
mean, with
instantly.
every tool, they always
Yeah,
use it to like
instantly.
someone's advantage and then they keep it away from another group. That's how it's been through all of history. You know it's gonna happen again.
Do you feel like the internet
Yeah,
is
it
kept?
will.
You think the internet is kept away from people, or do you feel like
I
it
mean, there's
was?
places in
Yes.
like yeah, like they just there's places like remote places in the world that are like just now getting internet like recently.
R- Right, but I mean, are those like what places are they like first world countries, second world countries? Do they have resources
I mean, I
already,
don't know.
or I
Wasn't
can't
Probably not, but
I can't imagine a first world country just got the internet.
no,
no,
but
otherwise they
like
wouldn't be
there
called first world.
Well, right.
there
So
But
are
then,
first world countries that will like restrict access to the internet if there's like a moment of like extreme like political turmoil. Because
oh,
wasn't there
oh
like
that's a
some
yeah.
good
like
point.
protest or
Yeah,
something?
I mean,
you're
our
right
Yeah.
government
about
can do
that.
that if they want. We wouldn't even know.
Well, I mean, we
That's
would
kind
probably
of
find out, I'm guessing, because we have lots of friends in other countries and whatnot. But China, yeah, China
yeah.
does it for sure. I'm sure Russia does it. But yeah, China, North Korea, the great firewall. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
using the
Yeah.
internet to oppress people into their own political advantage. Yeah, yep. That's a good point. So yeah, this will happen for sure. Like yeah, I like the first idea I come of like can think of is like the next election. I would just imagine like whoever you're voting for, you can be like, I want to vote for this president. Like if you like make a comment on Facebook, I just imagine like 4 million bots making like all these other entire like comments that like seem almost human like, but just by the sheer number of them, it can't be right. But like just to drown out like your message because it's an opposing political message or whatever. Like that would be That would be the first
I
thing
mean,
I
yeah, I
could
was
think
gonna
about.
say
Is
that. I
like,
feel
That
like
yeah,
that's
happened
already happening.
already.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, that's already happening.
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry to tell you, but
sorry to tell you. Yeah, I mean that has been happening actually.
I think that's always
Yeah,
been
apparently
I
that
think that's
happened in
always
our
been
last
happening.
election. But then also they said it had there was a recent study that just came out that it had like little effect on people's actual decision. Like people voted Trump in because they wanted him as president. It wasn't any other country's fault apparently. So but I mean, now that they have ChatGPT, maybe it'll be harder. Like maybe when you're arguing with someone online, like before, like if I like found like a Russian bot and I try to argue with it, like it wouldn't even like know what to do. But now with ChatGPT, you can argue with that thing all night long, and like
Why?
you
Why?
wouldn't even
Why are
know.
you arguing with people on the internet?
You know that's what Facebook all is. Like someone posts something on
Oh,
the
I
internet, and
actually
then
don't.
there's always
I haven't had Facebook for. I mean, like I have an account, but I haven't been on Facebook consistently for like probably over a year now. So
I mean, that's like all social media. You post something controversial or
oh,
political, and then the comments just explode. Like, and now with AI that you can't distinguish from human, that's just the first thing I think of. Like, all right,
okay, yeah,
make bots that start
I,
arguing with people and just
I guess
wasting their
that yeah,
time.
I guess that part of like I guess part of when I was on social media, yeah, I feel like that was still happening for sure. But like that's what I'm saying. Like what I don't understand why those people feel the need to do that at all. Like it seems like a fruitless endeavor to try to do that.
Yeah, I feel like once you get old enough, you feel like most of the time, like most of the people I can think of that I've seen arguing were all like under 30, except for like maybe one guy. But like other than that, yeah, I feel like eventually you would just learn that this is a waste of time, right? But like then again, there are people who literally do that for a living. Like there's like political activists and stuff. And like we could also definitely argue that that's a waste of time, but at the same time,
Yeah,
like it's
internet
not.
political activists. Ugh.
man, that sounds like.
That's a
Could you
topic for another
imagine
day.
being outraged for a living? Like you
Yeah, it's
literally
so
can't be
dumb.
happy.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. And then you don't actually change any. Like I was just thinking about this earlier. Like some of the most fucking outspoken people online, I feel like, are at least from what I hear from the people I know who are online consistently. I feel like. Oh, and yeah, like the only other social media platform that I actually still have now, like I or have an account and still go on, is Twitter. And that's literally usually only because I get if I get notifications like that in Snapchat, but like I don't really consider Snapchat social as much social because there's not really as many posts, I guess. I don't know. You guys can tell me if Snapchat is for old people, but anyway, yeah, I don't know anything about like TikTok. I don't really know even that much about Instagram, like because I just got rid of Instagram. But every time I've ever heard of anyone like being a political activist, it's like through YouTube or anything like that. It usually seems like that person's entire existence revolves around talking about issues that they have no intention of solving. Like, no matter
No
what
intention
happens,
of
it just
solving.
seems like they're just outraged, just like literally, like Buddha said, like for a living. Like they found the next thing they're going to be outraged about, and if that's ever solved, or if you ever point out in any way that like this might not be a problem, it's like no, this is a problem, and it's going to be a problem forever until I say it's not a problem. And I'm just like, okay, but like,
I
why not
mean,
like
that's
try to
also
fix it?
journalism too.
Yeah, like what a
Yeah,
I don't understand. I don't understand like it just seems exhausting to just live that life.
Yeah,
yeah,
people
yep.
live it and breathe it every day. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, it's kind of
you need
crazy.
the news somehow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people would just do everything without anyone knowing.
But is that really news? Like how's that news? I feel like if it's just me telling you to be outraged because something happened and not just presenting what it is that really news or is that me just trying to make other people outraged because I am?
I mean, you're right. I mean, that's just bad news if it's clear that that's what they're doing. But I'm sure just by the pure fact of choosing which stories to show, even though the story itself is purely factual, like that itself is politics in a way, and like political activism essentially.
Disgusting.
And like people would just like you would never know, like just like you said, like you would never know like if people actually did do it. But I mean, like if they did that for our internet, we would know because we'd be like, hey, UK, is this what you're seeing on your internet? And then they would immediately tell us no, and then we'd be like, okay, our
Unless
government's doing this.
unless they did that and shut down your access to every other country like all in one swoop. then you really wouldn't be able to
Right.
tell. Like, but like you'd obviously be suspicious because then you couldn't get into contact with anyone if you had any like overseas friends. But like I know some people who probably would notice. Like if you lived in America all your life and you've like don't really travel and like you don't know other people online who are from other countries, would you really tell that be able to tell that the internet's that different?
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
And I feel like there's a
You
good
would
amount of
never even
people
know to look.
who are like that. Right, exactly. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people who are like that. Like honestly, to a certain extent, I'm kind of like that. The only reason I even know anything about other countries is because like of investing stuff, because I just look stuff up for that purpose. But like if I wasn't, I would not be able to tell you what's happening anywhere else. And and to a
Yeah.
large extent, I still can't. Like I only really know about China in certain economic regards, but otherwise, I can't tell you what's going on in those places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I mean, like, well, I
I
mean, not really, but like, yeah, I can definitely
Yeah,
see
can you
that
guys?
happening to most people.
Would you all be able, like,
yeah.
have you ever asked yourself, would you be able to tell if that actually happened to us?
Yeah. I was gonna say I can, but I'm only only because I have family that is not in this
Sure.
country. So
Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
only reason why.
Yeah. I have two friends who are from a different country that I met online, and one of them I don't even really talk to that much. At least I haven't recently. But like, and then the other one I actually like message maybe once a day. So like, I actually do like through Discord for other stuff. But like, yeah. So if that person all of a sudden I couldn't talk to them, like I wouldn't assume it was a conspiracy. I just assume like maybe something happened to them. Like, like that's so great. Like that's the crazy part. Like I wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, if you have an international company, you would realize it instantly,
Right,
you
yeah, and I
know?
do. So yeah, that would all of a sudden I wouldn't be able to see what was going on. I'd just be like, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, there
So
you have it.
okay.
Oh, go
Can I
ahead.
slip in like one question right at the end? That's
Sure,
like
sure.
a question that actually can't be answered in 5 minutes, so I shouldn't ask it anyways. But
No, let's do
like,
it.
since you brought up like being outraged, and oppressed by a chat GPT, I actually like I was thinking about this like for a couple weeks now, and can either of you tell me of one group right now in the country that doesn't feel oppressed or is like making like talking about being oppressed?
No,
Mm,
I can't.
no, not really.
Can you like
You
name me one other time in like our recent history where that was the case?
Um,
in recent history, where
no,
not one other group
Where
is.
everyone felt they were oppressed.
no, I can't.
I mean, like the Civil War, maybe? No, I mean, did white people feel oppressed? Did white males feel oppressed in the Civil War?
Not
No.
may
So I guess
no
no.
they
Yeah,
probably
never.
Yeah, they
did.
did.
They probably did, but maybe not because they were white males. I think Gouda is just asking, do these people do all were all the people feeling oppressed, not necessarily connected to their identity or for whatever reason. Like, but yeah, I think white males probably felt oppressed during the Civil War.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why they chose to go to war, I guess, right? I mean, you don't die
Eh,
for nothing.
yeah. But
So,
people
I
didn't
don't
care
know.
about the categories that we cared about then. But yeah, I would say there probably are like some small times where that was happening, but in all of those instances, the world usually changed a lot after those battles were fought. So yeah, I think this is probably an inflection point of some sort that
yeah.
will lead us to down a very different path in the future. I think of it like a pendulum. Like sometimes it swings all the way to the left, and like in an ideal world, you would want it to be in the middle. But really, what happens with people is that we just overcorrect. So what ends up happening is we swing all the way to the right because it was to the left so long, and we stay on the right for a little while, and it just keeps going back and forth. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's where we're headed. We're headed all over to the right because we're
Yeah, I just
definitely on the left right now.
I don't know. I just hope people are aware and paying attention because yeah, there's like a thing happening, thing being in all quotes, not in caps and all that stuff. It's important.
Yeah, most people don't know. Yeah, I just yeah, I
That was
saw a poll on the internet
that
like
was mysterious.
I think right before we recorded the last podcast. I might have mentioned this, but yeah, he said how many of you have heard of ChatGPT and what do you think about it? And 90% of the people said, I've never heard of it and I haven't used it. I'm just like, what? Like, where have you been? So I don't know, man.
I mean, I haven't
Yeah,
used it, and I really don't.
you've at least heard of it.
Yeah, but I don't have an intention of using it.
I mean, which would make sense, I guess, for you. But like
I think there's a lot of
anyone with
I think there's a
like,
lot of people who probably won't use it.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so too. I think there's gonna be a ton of people who are just gonna be like, ah, this is just a gimmick, it'll pass. Like, there's like people who still like have cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, like literal cable. Like, I don't even know like how that's possible, but like,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I know people that have cable.
I probably know people who have cable too, which is just crazy to me.
Why is that
I
crazy?
mean, unless because isn't it like outrageously expensive and like you can't do like half the things you can when you're streaming or whatever, or can you do all that stuff nowadays?
Do what?
Like you have to record your shows on a DVR.
Oh,
Like
sure,
I
if you
I
want to watch
don't know
them.
what that life is like. That's for sure.
I mean, I think those people are probably already used to doing that, so it doesn't seem like a crazy life to them. Like it's just normal TV for
Right,
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
They just stick to the same thing they've been doing, and like
Yeah.
even if something crazy and new comes up that's better, there's like, nope, this is fine. And it's like I'll just pay two
I
hundred
don't
dollars a month, and then I have to try and record my shows on a DVR.
I don't know to them that it seems better because then it also I think requires them to learn a way of doing
Yep,
things that like isn't it's not like normal to them. Like I've helped my neighbor before who is older like fix her television before, like when she like pressed a button or when it went weird or something. And like I can tell you that she probably wouldn't have a good time trying to figure out Netflix. Like honestly, I
that's
think it's
crazy.
more interesting. It's much easier for her, especially like at her age where she's at in her life. I think it just makes sense for her to keep cable. Like I'm sure she thinks to herself, what's the point of having that? Of having all the other shit.
That's crazy. I mean, there's some people who don't even have like the internet
Yeah.
or a cell phone,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is like how? Like how are you alive? But I feel like honestly, once you get to that point in your life where you just choose to stop learning new things, like I feel like death has to be basically near at that point. Because like
What?
I would assume that's all the people, everyone who doesn't use stuff is all old people, like you said. Just like
Well,
some
yeah.
people are slower to adopt things, but everyone takes it on eventually. Everyone who I've ever thought of who didn't have internet, they're either dead right now or probably going to be dead in the next 5 years. I mean, it would be amazing if they weren't.
Uh, I think that's
Like,
definitely
I can't
true.
think of any 40-year-old person who doesn't have a cell phone or internet. Well, I guess, like, unless they're trying to make some sort of, like, hippie statement or something like that. But, like, not because they never learned how to use it. And there's like, you know what? The old
Well,
ways
yeah,
are
yeah,
best.
for sure. No, that's definitely more common amongst older people of from when we're talking about the internet, obviously, because they were around before the internet, right? So like that's they didn't grow up with it, but I don't know that that means they're not interested in learning new things. I just think that this particular thing is not that interesting to them.
Well, you said that it's not interesting to them because they have to like learn it. And like that is exactly why. Like it's hard to learn things. And I just assume that once you get old enough, your brain is just it's too
Well,
hard to like work that hard to learn something. So then you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna
well,
keep
there's
the
like
knowledge I have in my brain. Learning that is way too hard. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna do my
even
thing.
even
Because
today,
like when you're
I feel
young,
that way
learning
about
something is
things.
easy.
Well, I even feel that way today, like today about things. Not necessarily
Oh
because
man,
it's
you're gonna
hard.
be dead soon.
Well, I guess so. But like, there's certain, there's a lot of things that like I'm not interested in learning that like I think would produce better results. But again, like I just think there's other things that seem more interesting to me, so I just spend time on those things. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that those people don't want to, like, shouldn't be learning. I don't want to assume that they're not learning anything just because they don't want to have the internet. Like, I think they probably learn other things. Like, I know the person I was talking about. I know that they do a lot of other things, but they're very associated with outdoors. It's not like it's just that the idea of sitting in front of a screen to figure to do those things, I think that's the part of it that's not interesting to them. Not necessarily because they couldn't. They probably could. Like they have all their faculties. It's not like they're just like their brain is melting or anything. I just think they'd
Could they?
rather. I just think they're yeah. I just think they'd rather do other stuff. Honestly.
And I would argue that maybe some of them can. You're right. Maybe some of them just choose to for some reason. But I would argue that if you have a tool that you know is easier, better, whatever, better in whatever way, and everyone uses it because that is just a new, better tool, and you just purposely choose to not do because it's just too hard to learn and it's just too hard to change your ways. I would just say like you're not doing that. I couldn't imagine doing that by choice unless there was somehow some reason you truly in your mind felt like you knew something that no one else knew about like the process. But like most of the time that's not true. Like there is a tool that's better and people just choose not to use it. But I just assume it's because you just like are tired and you're tired of learning new things.
I mean, I know there are people like artists who I know do stuff entirely by hand because they think it's just like more, I don't know, true,
Yeah,
and that
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
like you could
That's a
use
good
spray
that
example.
paint.
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good example.
So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it's like necessarily
But I mean, if
totally
you don't
tied,
have
but
a
it's a
cell
good
phone right now,
indicator.
what would you think of someone like that? Like, and they just never learned or bothered to get one. Like, it's not
I
that
wouldn't
they
think.
chose not to have one. They were used to landlines, and when it switched over to cell phones, they
Yeah.
just never did it.
I wouldn't think any less of them. I would just think that they don't feel a need for this tool that I enjoy, and that their lives doesn't really
Do
require
you
it.
think that's normal? That's
Oh, I didn't
interesting.
I didn't say I thought it was normal, because like obviously it's normal. The internet is a normal thing because most people, if we're talking about what's normal, then like and just what the population thinks, then obviously yeah, we're talking about the internet. I just don't think that it's
Would
like
you say that's best for like the person in general? Like,
yeah,
let's say like your
sure.
own daughter was like that. Like, let's just say like she just never wanted to learn anything new, and like she was just like,
You
yeah,
keep
I'm
you keep
good
saying
with what I learned.
you keep saying every like anything new as if not wanting to have the internet means you don't want to learn anything. Like I don't understand why you keep equating those two things.
I mean, it is, I guess most of the people I've known, it's not that they have the internet, but they know rocket science or like something else. Like they don't have the internet, they don't have cell phones, they don't know social media, they don't know shit. Like yeah, they know like outdoor stuff, like you said, like they can go outside and start a
Yeah, but
fire.
like that's what I'm saying. If like
But
if
like
I like
you're
let's
not learning anything new. Like you
well
just stopped at a certain point and like that was it.
let's say
That's
okay,
the
so I
people
can
I'm thinking
well
of.
so let me give you an example of someone like my only idea that I can think of someone who like might be in a profession where they don't necessarily need to be online. So like construction workers. Like I think you can go into a craft like that or like like any of the what are they called? What are like
The
mechanics
trades.
and the trade like yeah the
You
trades.
actually
So like you don't necessarily have like obviously I think there's
you
tools
do.
on the internet where where like that would make that better, but like I don't think you necessarily like to be like let's say you were just like a low level construction worker who like or like maybe you were a truck driver who like delivered for like who like just delivered pallets of wood to like one place every day. I don't know. Like this is a made up job. I don't know this person. I'm just saying like let's just say that your job was mundane enough where like you didn't necessarily have to be online to learn the tasks because like someone else was there to be able to show you how to do those things. Like I don't necessarily think those people just
How
don't
many
want to learn
percentage of
anything.
jobs are like that nowadays?
Well, yeah, I already agree with you that it's a small number. I just don't think that there's anything wrong with those people. Like you just keep saying that they're not normal and they don't want to learn anything. I'm just saying I don't agree with that. Like I just think
Well,
they might not necessarily feel like it's crazy to not have the internet and they might just be happy without it. I don't know. They might just like
so
their life that way.
do you know anyone like that who just
Yeah,
like doesn't have like internet?
I told you my neighbor is like that, but like we as we talked
How
about
old is
like
this
she's
neighbor?
yeah, she's I
Can
mean
we
she's
say
well I don't know her exact age honestly. So like if I had to guess like
if you had to guess?
probably late 60s or so, early 70s. I really don't know.
Okay. Does she like use social media or
Not that
like
I'm aware. I like
sure
I know that she like texts Danielle, but like as far as I know, she doesn't as far as I know, she's not on social media, and like she was also the neighbor that like I helped with the TV, so like I know that she doesn't have like Netflix or anything. But like I do like her day to day from what I can see, like it's pretty active. It's pretty outdoors. She enjoys going to like live music and shit like that. Like she just did a bus tour some months back, and Danielle actually uh did some stuff around her house for her while she was gone. But like I wouldn't say her life is necessarily worse, you know what I mean? Like because she doesn't have internet. I just think the internet came at a time where she had already like kind of decided what she liked out of life and was happy with those things, and now she's just experimenting with those types of things, and she's learning other things, but just not through the internet, not with the internet as a tool.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say for me it would be like definitively worse because like if you don't use like something as big as the internet, that cuts you off from like so much more. Like if you liked live music, then you can go on the internet and find like where more venues were or
Yeah, yeah,
like there's just
I'm
like
not
pretty much
saying she
any
doesn't.
hobby you
I'm not saying
have
she doesn't have the
could be
internet. I was just
enhanced by
talking.
these tools.
Yeah, I clearly misunderstood the question, but like I believe she has access to the internet. I just don't think she uses the internet at any in any capacity that's like what most people would consider normal. Like I feel like what most people consider normal use of the internet is like at least several hours a day, and I think her version of the internet is probably like a few minutes here and there when there's something very very specific to her life that she would use it for. You know what I mean? Like I just
So, what would make you think she can learn more, I guess? That's what I'm confused about. Because, like, I'm just like, okay, she's old, like, she's done. She is
because I mean
choosing
I've
to not
spoken
take on these new hobbies, like,
because I've
because
spoken.
it's just too much. Like, so what makes you think, yeah, what makes you
Okay,
think she can do more?
you keep saying that she took on these new hobbies. She didn't take on this hobby because it was too much. I don't know why she I don't know why she doesn't like use the internet a lot. I'm just saying that I don't know that the reason is what you're saying, that like it's just too hard. I don't think that she's incapable of learning because I've spoken to her several times, and like I've spoken about to her about what she used to do, which was like I think it was mostly accounting. I'm not exactly sure, but like the way she describes it, it sounds like accounting for a corporation. But anyway, like cognitively, as far as I can tell, because I've talked to her about more than one thing on several occasions, she seems like she's perfectly suitable to learn new things. Like I don't from what I can tell. Again, that's just my experience with her. So like I wouldn't
I
think that
would
just because she
wonder if
doesn't.
you actually ask her, like, I don't want her like to be offended, but like, you'd be like, hey, like, how come you're not on all this stuff? I would wonder like what her response would be. And
Yeah, I
I'm
think
assuming it would just be like, I don't waste my time with all that.
Yeah, I
It's
just don't
just
think she
too
thinks she
much.
needs it. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think she just doesn't feel like she needs it as much as everyone else does. Like again, social
Right.
media, like
And
to
how
that
is
point.
that logically sound if you could literally enhance every hobby if you actually just like go on the internet? So like
Well,
that's what I mean. Like
because
it doesn't make sense. If her
okay,
goal is to like
we
do
keep
her
switching.
hobbies,
We keep switching what we're talking about. So like I was saying that she does use the internet because I know that she's talked to me in again in some capacity about using the internet before. But again, if you look at just her life normally, the way that she uses the internet is not as much and probably not as optimized and efficient as I would say the average person does, because that's what you were saying earlier, that like that those people aren't normal. So when we're talking
so she
about
does have and use the internet.
she has internet because I know she has a phone, and I know she has told me she's used the internet before, and that's why I said earlier, if I misunderstood the question, I'm sorry. I was trying to say that I know people who use the internet, but not in a capacity that you're talking about, like not in
I
what you're
mean that's
considering normal.
yeah, I guess that's not what I was talking. I was like I know like my grandpa, like
Hmm.
he didn't like it was a miracle that he got a cell phone at the end of his lifetime. Like it was literally like people like our whole family could not believe it. Like
Hmm.
but like for him like he definitely maybe he had cable at some point, but like internet, Netflix, GPS, smartphones, like the cell phone he got was like a flip phone from like the 90s. Like smartphones, touchscreens, Wi-Fi, all of that, there is no fucking way. He was a smart guy, like one of the smartest guys I've ever known, actually. Like,
Hmm.
but at a certain point, you can tell that having him learn these things was literally, it's just too difficult. And like, it's just, what's the point? It's just easier
Yeah,
for him to just do what he's doing right now, even
yeah.
though like technically like what he's doing could be enhanced by all this stuff.
Well, I was
He
gonna.
literally had no choice to learn it. Like Sure, and when you ask him why don't you do these things, he just says, I don't waste my time with that. But like when you think about the logical step by step process behind that, it doesn't make sense. And then you just understand it's not because he doesn't necessarily want to, but it's just because he can't
Right. I mean,
essentially,
and
or
if you're
it's just too
talking,
much. It's more than it's worth.
yeah, and if you're talking about the entire internet, then okay, yeah, I guess I don't know anyone who doesn't use any part of the internet. I can't say that definitively. But I do know, like, even myself, like, if we're just talking about not using tools that might optimize your life, like, I know plenty of people who don't do that. And, like, I'm a person who doesn't do that. Like, there's plenty of things that, like, could make my life technically, if we're just talking about value perspective, quote unquote, easier by giving me less tasks to do every day. But a part of that, like, sometimes I don't use tools to force myself to do, like, engage in a behavior so that I can build that behavior and do that thing over and over again. Like it's more of a like behavioral thing for me. So like I don't want to be as like as callous as to be just throw away the idea that like might be some merit in not trying to optimize everything. Because that's kind of the word you used earlier. You were saying like it could optimize all your hobbies. Like I I think there's something to be said for not optimizing certain parts of your life just because I feel like those parts of your life seem to have less value in some cases when you do them. Like just for me, that's just my personal opinion. Like there's certain things that I don't want to optimize just because I just don't feel like it makes good sense to do so.
Doesn't make good sense to optimize it.
Yeah,
That's
so like I'll
almost
give
like
you
a contradictory. Like it sounds
yeah,
like it would be contradictory, but like I guess I could understand like where you're coming from on that. But yeah, that is
like auto
definitely
pay.
interesting.
Like if like I was if, like I like auto pay, I could probably optimize in my time if I put everything on auto pay or even my like investments. But there's a there's a there's a practical benefit in my mind to every single month, even if I don't want to taking that money and moving it physically because I am actively engaging in a behavior that's saying that no matter what, I am going to do this even if I don't want to do it or I feel like the money could be spent better in some other way. So like I see that as a practical benefit that is would be taken away by optimization in that case. Like that's just a like that's
Oh, well, what you described, your goal is to keep the money in case you need it for something else. But I guess, like, would you still choose to not use auto pay if you had the money, if you had plenty of money to pay for everything?
I do already and I don't.
Interesting.
Like
So,
like
so
our
you
credit
like
like our
to
credit
just,
card like our credit card for example we have our bills mostly on auto pay but I never put our credit card on auto pay because I want to specifically to keep myself responsible for looking at the bill every month and I'm not going to do that if it's on auto pay because if it's on auto pay the money will just come
okay,
out and I'm never going to look at it.
so that's just not optimized. Like, for it to be auto pay is not optimized for you. So
Right,
I
right,
wouldn't say,
right,
like,
right.
that's
Exactly.
not like I wouldn't say you choose to not do something optimized. Like that just doesn't work for your goals.
Well, and that's sort of what I'm suggesting for other people. Again, I don't know that I can make the argument for the whole internet like you were making, but I think that there are certain tools that in our minds might seem like obviously optimization focused, where in those people's lives it just presents like it takes them away from the overall goal of just like interacting with life. I think a lot of older people just like to be outside. Like and like the internet isn't something that like they feel like they can enjoy and connect with nature as much with if they're just on the internet. Like I feel like in their minds, in some portion of the old people's like minds, that they don't feel like it's necessarily like the best thing to do because their goal isn't that.
Right. Yeah. Like there were like an entire subset of like old people who would like spend the rest of the last 20 years of their life literally on a rocking chair on their porch. Like that was like
Mm-hmm.
normal. Like but that doesn't happen anymore. Like more people are fine with being inside
Yeah.
watching TV.
Yeah.
So like yeah,
And
I
some
think
people
it's
in the
just like
South
what they're
still do that.
comfortable with and then like they just stay just right there. Like would you like as far as entertainment perspective, watching TV is definitely better than sitting outside on the porch. At least in my opinion, in every
Right.
way. Like you can
Yeah.
literally watch a TV of the porch if you wanted to. But like
But
yeah,
like
I just
a
feel
person
like
who likes the
it's
outdoors would say like, why would I need to do that? Why would I want to do that out I can't like be outside and do that like reasonably. Like I can't like if I'm outside like watching a sun, like if I went outside to go watch the sunset, like to say that like, well, it's better entertainment for
Right,
you
yeah.
to, like,
If
you know
you
what I
actually
mean?
like outdoors, that's
Right,
not
yeah.
better.
Yeah,
But like for an
exactly.
entire generation of people to just like, yeah, okay, this entire generation of people likes to be outside. That's not, I don't think that's like, oh, it's just a coincidence. They all just so happened to have found the outdoor hobby and they found that it was more. I think it's that that's the hobby they were comfortable with. They never, once you get older, it's too hard to learn new things. So like you don't learn like a new hobby like of you being inside doing something new when you're like 70, 80 years old. You just do what you're comfortable with, no risk there, and like that's just it. Like
Or
even
maybe
though
they just
like
realize the
technically
internet's like
your
an
new
addictive
hobby could be
place.
literally better in every way. It's just not worth it to you, like, or whatever. I don't know. That's how I see it. But like, I understand like your way. You're just saying that maybe there's just something we don't know in their life that like they just feel like it's better. But yeah, who knows?
Well, yeah, if
We'll
you're like
find
you
out
said,
when we're 80.
if you're an outdoors person, then I mean, yeah, like I don't blame you for not wanting to be on social media. Like I don't really see how that enhances being outside.
Yeah, no, that would make no sense. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's weird
but
because
yeah,
it seems like it kind of like goes back to like your question in the beginning. Like it's not wrong to like use new tools and then sell it to somebody because there's always going to be people that just don't care to like learn or know anymore. And that's why you have a retirement. It's like a stop learning
right.
fund.
Yeah, yep.
What?
That's exactly right.
You think people just stop learning when they retire?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying like for the things that you don't want to do, like or figure out how to do yourself, then
Yeah,
like
right.
you just
Yeah.
pay someone else to do it, and then it's fine
Exactly.
that they didn't want
Absolutely.
to learn it.
But ideally,
Are all your
that would free up
grandparents
time.
alive, John?
Um, uh, uh, yes, I think. I think so. All my
You
grandparents.
think? You don't even know?
I mean, like, I just started reconnecting with my biological father like a couple of months ago, so no, I don't know everyone's history because I haven't been around with them, so no. But
Well,
like,
okay, well, what about the ones you know?
yeah, as far as I know, they're so no, like on my
As
dad,
far as you know?
so like no,
Oh
on my
my God.
dad's,
Okay,
I
so
was going.
you are not close to your grandparents.
Well, no, okay. So on my dad's side, so like again, I don't know every single grandparent that I've had because on my mom's side, I didn't even meet my grandfather. I've only known my grandmother, and no one knows him or knows where he is. So like I don't know that. So like it's not like I'm not close to them like just at all like on purpose. I when I say as far as I know, I literally mean that some of those people are unknown. So like
I feel
one.
like those don't count. Like, it's just like,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
if you
you didn't
literally don't
ask.
even know if they
I was
exist,
trying to
like,
answer the question you asked me. You didn't like say that I should like exile everyone that I'm not sure about. I didn't know.
I wasn't, well, I mean, like, I'm not trying to, like, I'm just trying to understand, like, do you, like, yeah, are your grandparents young? Like, are they in this stage
What do
where
you
they're, like,
consider
not
what do
learning?
you consider young?
Yeah, I would say like around Gouda has I was on to something like around retirement age is probably when I start seeing the most amount of people who just like, no, this is a new fad. I'm literally not even gonna pay attention to it. Like, yeah, I would say 65, maybe 75. I would say 65 to
So
75. Like
my
you could
grandmother
still
is
learn new
past. I
things.
think my grandmother's
But
in
like
her late
75 and
80s
up,
or not 80s. Sorry, late seven. She's in her 70s. And
so you
then
have a young grandma.
I mean, if you think 70's young, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my grandpa would be 94, 93 this year. So yeah, I mean, to me, that feels young.
Okay. What were we trying to get at with that? Like about the
I was
age
just
part?
wondering if you've seen your grandparents. Because, like, for me, it's like, oh, I've seen most of my grandparents are dead. So they've all lived pretty old.
Hmm.
And I've seen the same thing with all of them. They all stopped. They got to the point where they just like didn't learn anything new and it was all around when they were like 50, 60,
Hmm.
whatever the world was when they were in their 50s or 60s. They just kind of stopped right there and just wrote it out like and I don't think that's because technology stopped getting better, so there was no reason to keep like learning new things. I just think it was
Yeah,
because
I think
it's too hard, and
well
that's
we
just the
we
end of
kind of
that.
talked about this in a different podcast, but I think better is relative in a lot of cases. Like I think every generation has thought probably at some point in their life that the world's getting better, and then they probably reached
Yeah,
a stage
I
where
remember that
they thought
conversation.
like the world may be getting worse, and like I think
Yeah,
that, like
you were
to your
trying to say that North Korea couldn't be any better or worse than,
well
than America.
the
And I
point.
was like, this is such a technicality on the definition of
Well,
better and the
that's why I'm saying I
perception
don't
of
think
it.
it's a
But it's
technicality
pretty
though.
clear that America is better to live in, just like it's pretty clear that the internet is
Okay.
better than no internet. Like it's like how is that not just like a given?
But what I was trying to say was that the reason I think that it's not necessarily a technicality is because I think every generation, even in our own country, goes through that. So the point you're making about like, oh, it just gets too hard. Like I think they just lose interest. Like because again, I think the world eventually looks to them like a place that they don't really recognize or they don't personally align with. So you tend to like not engage with that level of the world anymore the way you probably would have, and I think we all just kind of naturally go that way. Like I feel like we all will probably stop at a point. We'll probably find a version of our lives that we like living the best, and I think we'll probably emulate that world for as long as we live because that version of the world is just what's most comfortable and what's most meaningful to us. I don't know that that necessarily means that we're incapable of learning anything new. I just think we just found something that worked for us, and I think a lot of times that happens to older people, and that'll eventually happen to us too. I think it happens to every generation. Like that's the only
But
reason
like
things change is like new
don't you
people
think
are
there's like
born
a
and they change the world.
correlation between at what age that starts to happen to people and whatnot? Or like you
Sure,
just
yeah.
from your perspective, it could happen to anyone at any time in their life,
No, I
and
think there's
that's
definitely no, I think there's
probably
definitely a
relatively
core
normal.
no, I think there's definitely a correlation with the age, but I just don't think the your age necessarily dictates whether or not you're able to continue learning. And I think that's the argument that it sounded like you were making earlier that it just
Which
got too
is,
hard.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it just got too hard for them. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't know, it might be, but like as far as I can tell, the old people that I know that are still in my life are capable of learning quite a bit of things. I just don't think they care about those things. Like I just don't like it just doesn't seem useful to them. Now, are they right or wrong about that? I don't know. It depends on what kind of life they lead. Like it a lot of it is just individualistic. But like we're just talking about like you said, optimization. If we're just saying like it depends on what the goal is, and I don't think any two people's goals necessarily align. So like to just be like, yeah, all of them are just old and clearly their age has prevented them from learning. Like I don't know. That just seems somewhat irresponsible because like we don't know those people and we definitely don't know what they're capable
I
of.
mean,
And in my life,
I'm just making that judgment off the people I've known, and all of them,
oh,
yeah, it
okay.
was the same age,
Oh,
and
okay. Well,
they all acted the same way.
okay. Well, if that's been your experience, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. I was like, how old are you? So your grandma, she's still like,
Yeah.
she's still getting there. So like, we'll see, I guess, how she is. But yeah, all my grandparents, they're just like, 60. There's like, yeah, 65, 75, right around there. I feel like my grandpa gave up a little earlier. He gave up around probably like, actually, then again, when he was 65, that was 30 years ago, and there was no internet or cell phone. So yeah, that's when he
Mhm.
gave up around 65. And then same with my grandma.
Yeah. So
Did
my
she have a smartphone? No, she didn't.
Yeah, so
And she didn't have the
my
internet
grandmother is
either.
in her 70s and she just got a smartphone a few years ago and like she uses it a lot now to like FaceTime us because like obviously we
FaceTime. So
yeah.
yeah, she's still going.
Yeah,
She's
but that
learning.
was my point. It took a long time for her to see any benefit from it because for a long time I lived close. So like it wasn't a weird thing for us to see each other a lot, especially when I didn't have a grandkid and we really didn't need to see each other that much. So like now she FaceTimes more because I have a child and because like obviously the child is going through a lot of changes very quickly. So like it helps her to see her every week or so to be able to be like, oh, this is where she's at with her development. Like it lets her be a great grandmother in a sense that she wouldn't be able to in any other sense. But like I don't think that she was like wrong for not using that tool up until then. She just didn't have a good use for it before that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
Also, she was
that's good.
obviously capable of learning it because she FaceTimes me now. So like that's what I was saying. Like in my experience, it's been different because like I saw her purposely not use a smartphone for a very long time and then be able to figure it out relatively quickly.
Right. Well, she's younger though, so like we'll see how that goes because she's like
Yeah.
right in the age where I feel like you're gonna cut
I
off
mean, if
soon.
we're
And from
yeah,
my
if you're talking
theory,
about yeah, if you're talking about 98-year-old people who have like are like literally showing you signs of dementia, like obviously yeah, their brains melted. Like I'm not talking about those people.
I mean that's what happens to you when you get old. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you,
Okay.
either
Sorry.
your brain goes or your body does. Like you usually, it's pretty rare that like you're just completely healthy and you just croak. Sometimes
Yeah.
it happens, but usually you lose
Yeah.
one or the other.
Clearly, I underestimated what you meant by old. I because like I consider my grandmother old, but like again, that's in relation to the other people I know in my life.
Yeah, I've seen the entire life cycle up close. Well, I mean, like as far as old age, I've yet to see the beginning part, but I'm about to. But yeah, I've
Okay.
seen my at least yeah, the two grandparents that I knew and were close to. I've seen both of them go from like young people who were like with it, or not young, but like they could like they were like with today's like standards to just being like, you know what, I'm good right here where I'm at, even though like this
Yeah.
would technically make my life easier. I'm not doing it. Like
Yeah.
learning is just not even worth it. So like I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess when you
Yeah.
get old, you must give up. But yeah,
Honestly, I
I
feel
mean,
like
we'll find out.
I'm kind of getting there. Like I'm pretty close. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh
But
man,
I think
yeah,
I'm
that's door.
yeah, I think I'm an anomaly though. Like I found the life that I like relatively quickly and like I it's hard for me to imagine a tool that'll necessarily make that better. I could be completely wrong about that. There might be one and I but like I wouldn't be mad if this version of the world was the best version that I could get necessarily for my life. Now, for Mila's life, I don't know. It might be different. I have no idea. But like, I'm perfectly good with where I am right this second. Like, I would be okay if like at 70 I was doing like relatively the same thing, but like obviously we retired and like we're spending time together and like doing just outdoorsy crazy shit. Like yeah,
You
I don't see a reason to necessarily have another tool.
you know what's a weird stat that just that kind of reminds me of? Like a lot of people like when they retire, sometimes like if they got enough money, they'll like go to like a super nice like retirement village like in Florida where they literally provide you with like every need you could possibly have. And for some reason, like it's a real statistic that if you retire that way, like you're more likely to die sooner.
Earlier,
Like
yeah.
for some reason,
Yeah, that's true.
like it's just like if your life is too easy for some reason, I guess you
hmm
just die. Like or I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yep.
So it's just like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah, I think
like
your
what
brain
kind
is
of
just
like
inactive. That's I think that's a real thing too. Like I think your brain
what
like
kind of bullshit is that? Like you
yeah.
finally get to like everything you've ever hoped for, and it's like, well,
Yeah, if you
time to
turn your
die.
brain
Like,
off, when you don't start using your brain, it just turns off eventually. It's just like, oh, okay, you don't
yeah.
need me anymore, clearly. But like on the flip side of that, I know people who are like, well, I don't know them personally, but like some of the best investors that I've seen, like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, like they're in their 90s, and they're not doing anything physical. They're just sitting around looking at like balance sheets all fucking day. So like it's
Yeah,
crazy.
they're
Like
still
if you
working their brain.
yeah, they're just working their brain enough to their body's like, okay, I guess we'll keep going.
We'll keep going. Yeah, but if you don't work your body or your brain, you're
Oh
just gonna
yeah,
die.
veggie state.
So yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like, does the not learning cause your death, or does the not learning is it a sign of your death being near? Like, which comes first, the
Yeah,
chicken or egg?
I think it
Who knows?
causes it, but who knows?
Could be right. Like just like you said, they're exercising their brain and they're still living. What's Jimmy Carter doing? We
Yeah,
gotta figure
man.
that out.
He's
Yeah,
hiding
he's
his
yeah. I was
documents.
just about to say, man, he's reading his classified documents. That's why he's
Yeah,
still around.
he's hiding his class. He's like, these idiots, they don't know how
Yeah,
to play the game.
yeah. I'm Jimmy Carter.
Oh man. All right. I feel like that's a pretty good place to wrap it up. Hour and 30
Yeah.
minutes. Perfect. All right, guys. I guess we will see you on the next one, trying to make it weekly, but don't hold us to it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Uh,
No, no schedule
and
expectations.
and